Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Okay guys, it is the eclipse season, okay? And everyone talks about the eclipse season, and so I'm here, and I'm sure you have all the YouTubers in the world talking about it, but you know, I thought it would be a really important topic to talk about, and to probably just hopefully give my own perspective on the situation. And do mini forecasts for all 12 signs. So if you're interested in my perspective or anything like that, keep watching. And also, again, if you really like my perspective and whatnot, definitely, if you really like my perspective, I thought I was like, sorry, I have like incense burning on the back, so I thought the house was burning. But if you really like what you see on my channel, I do chart readings for, murderers. I do a little bit of education and stuff, and I'm building my channel from scratch. So I have some other videos from when I was doing ancestry videos. And so I would always appreciate a little bit of support, like, subscribe, all that. So and then I'm an astrologer, so if you want your own natal reading, a year ahead reading, or even just to learn about astrology, I provide tutoring, I do natal chart readings, I do all of that. So you can head on over to my website, fourthhouselb.com, again, fourthhouselb.com, to go see what I can offer. So I think that's that on my housekeeping. And because I do doing a prediction video where there's an element of prediction, I do have to say I'm a Western tropical astrologer. For my predictions, I am using whole signs and the whole sign house system. And so it's really important. Your rising sign is going to get you the most accurate reading. And then your sun and moon signs are going to be a little bit, the sun and moon signs are not going to necessarily be as accurate, but it will provide different aspects of your life. So the sun would be more about your aspiration and your success, and the moon would be more your subjective reality. So, watch all three signs to get a more comprehensive picture of, what your month ahead looks like, specifically this solar eclipse season. And also keep in mind that these readings are general. So if it doesn't apply, let it fly. If I bring up someone who's married, or if I bring up someone who has children, if you don't have children, or if you're not married, it doesn't apply. But the point is to apply the general themes. So if I'm talking about children, maybe it's just things that you create. So it could also be your business that you create. It could be a project, crafts, hobbies, things like that you create out of love. So it wouldn't necessarily just be children, but it would be things that you put out into the world. So that is kind of how astrology works in that regard. So, and also with that said, again, since it's general, if you really want a specific reading as far as what's going to be happening to you during eclipse season, or even in the future, that's where you go find your friendly neighborhood astrologer, or you come over to fourthhouselb.com. The link's down below. So I keep botching the name of it. And we can help you out and give you more specific, personalized reading that's beyond just the general reading. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so this is my first prediction video, guys, because I have friends who do this, and I've always said I will not do prediction videos every month, but I think I will do eclipses. So I think that eclipse seasons are such a pivotal period in time. I love, if someone's not particularly bought in to the idea of astrology, I love spooking people, spooking people from knowing things, huge events, and being able to time it around major eclipses. So we have a solar eclipse in Libra, and I'm going to quickly tell you what a solar eclipse is. A solar eclipse is when the sun and the moon are in alignment, and the moon passes between the sun and the earth, and blocks the sunlight from emanating onto the earth, right? And so this year, or this October 14th solar new moon solar eclipse is an annular one, which means that it won't completely consume or, block out the full sun light of the sun. It'll leave a little bit of a ring. And which, as far as astrologically speaking, that can mean that there's less potency to the impact that would bring into someone's life or whatever. But on an astrological level, eclipses are huge moments in time that puts people on the path that they need to be on. We have all these transits throughout the year. We have, our retrogrades, and we have different planets going into different signs, and maybe they're going home into a sign, maybe they're going into fall or detriment. But all these transits that happen through the years, are opportunities for us to grow and learn from. But for the most part, humans are not particularly they're not particularly warm to the idea of change, right? And so the eclipse season is really a time where it's like, you could play around with certain themes of your life. You can mess around and be like, hey, I don't want to do this. I know that I need to do this. And you'll have all these challenges. Maybe you'll have, if the challenge is supposed to be focusing on your budget. And you might have had a few declines here and there on your, at the grocery store or whatever. But you somehow always made enough to get through the month, to pay for the required obligations. But the eclipse season is the season when your credit card is completely maxed out. You have no money. You have no money in any bank accounts, whether it's saving or your main bank account. And you are out here and you have to pay for rent and you have to pay for gas to get to work. That's what the eclipses can do to someone. Put them in a situation like, okay, all right, got it. I need to be more responsible here. I need to make a change. Solar eclipse is basically, is a new moon, and the new moons are when the sun and moon are again aligned and are in the same sign. Pretty much the aspirational and the things that are true to you in your heart are aligned. It is also the past and the future, right? Because the past is, the moon, where it's like, all the things that you've accumulated in your soul, right? And the things that you need, right? And then you have the sun, which is the future. Again, the aspiration, looking forward. How do you want to shine and grow and ascend into this life? And so you have those finally in alignment during a new moon. And so in alignment with the nodes of fate, and this is a south node solar eclipse, you have this element of this pathway of understanding. And yes, eclipses are intense by nature, and they are moments in time that can feel very jarring. But sometimes you can't make decisions off of when you're comfortable, right? You have to make decisions when you get a little, you feel a little froggy, and like things are just so uncomfortable, and you're like, okay, what do I gotta do, So it's an opportunity where things kind of open up, and your heart and your soul and everything kind of are in alignment, are in a place that can receive the message of the universe and puts you on your path. And because it's a south node eclipse, there is a question or an ask for you to end things and to remove certain things in your life that no longer serve us. And because it's in the sign of Libra, Libra is a relationship house, or sign. And so because of that, there is a element of relationships. What are you doing in your life that doesn't serve your higher purpose, in which you are sacrificing yourself for the other, for the group or whatever. The eclipse season is really asking you, what baggage do you have that you need to release? Who and what are keeping you from being able to stand in your own authenticity. If there are things like that in your life that are keeping you from being able to show up for yourself, you need to release those things. And that's honestly the litmus test. Am I able to be myself? Am I sacrificing parts of myself for something else? If the answer is yes on that, or if I'm being, unable to make, maybe the slight wishy-washiness of a Libra, you might need to let go of and be assertive like an Aries. But those are things that you'd have to kind of consider in order for you to continue your journey of your soul's development. Like, time speeds up with eclipses. It's almost like you've been maybe the Mercury retrograde kind of gives you a little lesson here and there. You kind of heed it, but then you go back to old ways, and then maybe you're reevaluating relationships during the Venus retrograde, and then it's making you go back to your old ways. And then the eclipse comes and you've learned so many things. You know what the lessons are, but it's really like a boot camp at that point. I don't know if anyone's been to boot camps for anything, being closed, going to the same thing over and over and over again for a small period of time. It becomes very clear to you where you need to change and where you need to grow and develop. And so that's how I see eclipses. I think that they're an amazing time to develop who you're supposed to be. Again, it is a time, if you're not doing the things you need to be doing, the eclipse season will make it very clear that you're not on the right path. And guess what? Once you do get on, things become clear and you have to end things and start new things because those old things don't fit you anymore. Those shoes don't fit anymore. You gotta go buy some new stuff. You gotta go do something else. You're not swimming against the current, right? You're not swimming against the current. There's a little bit more flow because that is really where you're supposed to be going in this life. And so, yeah, with also the new moon energy, you're getting, the sun is highlighting areas of Libra that that needs some cleaning up and needs some evaluation. And again, just puts a spotlight on, okay, Libra, the house that Libra occupies, what is wrong or what needs to be cleaned up and addressed. And then the moon being in conjunct the sun at this time creates an opportunity for people to be emotionally ready to address that. That's where that conjunction really plays together really well. Some of the energy around the solar eclipse also includes you having to push through some discomfort and pain and work through some pain in order to get to the other side of what you're trying to do, right? And as far as being able to be your authentic self and to put you first. And when you think about Chiron and Aries, it's really, Chiron is conjunct. I keep thinking the house is burning down because the incense is blowing. I'm like, why is there smoke? Sorry. But Chiron is in Aries conjunct the North Node. The North Node is expansive energy. And it's also an energy of where, it really does want you to move in that direction, right? And Chiron in Aries is, really kind of asks what is painful about being you. And that is something you're going to have to work out, because there's a reason why you might feel like you need to be codependent in a certain area. There is a reason why. It's almost like there's a fire and you're like, I'm too scared to touch it, because whatever you have to do around that is too much work and it's painful and it's scary. Addressing, again, maybe it's hard to be a person that is always needing to be who has a lot of responsibility, right? And is always having to give of themselves to the people around them, but they don't have anything for themselves. It can be really hard to always give to your children and not have anything for yourself. to not have, your own personal voice and gifts to give to the world. So, this is not just in relationships. It's literally how you interface with any type of relationship. And so, again, the solar eclipse season this eclipse season in general, but this solar eclipse, and specifically in the Aries and Libra axis, is really just asking you, how are you going to show up for yourself? And how can you bring in the best parts of Libra, the best part of your charm, the best part of your diplomacy, the best part of your sense of justice into the more martial, assertive, Aryan type of energy. So, something also to consider with, that fear and the discomfort of this energy around the eclipse season is Pluto. Pluto is squaring the nodes and is squaring the axis, the nodal axis. And so that is also going to play a part. And it really is, Pluto adds this crunchy energy because it's really asking the nodes again to push through the fear. What are you scared of? Why are you not able to, what is the resistance to the transformation that's occurring here? And how is it keeping you from going in the direction that you need to? But the funny thing is that fear is really, even though it doesn't feel good, that fear is a huge source of energy for transformation. But you have to lean into it. I have a planet in my bendings and my natural, so it's pretty much a planet squaring my nodes, and I have to lean into it. I had to lean into the pain in order to live the life that I want. And so that's another element that is here and at play. And Pluto has been transiting Capricorn, and you know what it's been doing? It's been building grit. It's been making people able and more capable to roll with the punches and to face a lot of difficult structures and systems and belief around systems, and has completely destroyed it, broke it down, and hopefully has built up a stronger fortress around some of the fears that we had in life, and has allowed us to now, hopefully, as Pluto goes into Aquarius, allows us to have the grit that's required for us to be our authentic selves. Because Pluto in Aquarius is not going to stand for status quo now, right? It's not going to want the status quo anymore. And it's going to be asking you, okay, I helped fortify you. I broke down things that felt stable so that you can now have an even stronger foundation. Okay, let's get it. Now we're talking about your authenticity. Let's do this. And I really do think that the transition, this nodal axis, the Aries and Libra nodal axis, where the eclipses are going to be occurring for until 2024, are really telling you, okay, how are you going to show up for yourself? So we're going to need to have that strength and that grit to get into the next phase of our society, or the next phase of our lives. The next 20 years of our lives is going to be about, how do I really, really, really build, how can I show up in my most authentic self? And specifically, it's not easy and comfortable to be authentic. No one walks out of this life, because as long as you're socialized into thinking that there's certain ways to behave and certain legitimate jobs and like certain things you should do with your children, or certain things you should do as a mother or a wife or whatever your identity is, it's not easy to be authentically you. And that question is going to, and that fact of needing to work through that is going to require grit. And so we have been working on grit as a collective since 2008. And so the question is, how do you show up for your in your most authentic way? And I do believe that this Aries Libra axis, the eclipse is happening in this axis. I do believe that the eclipse is happening when the nodes being in the Aries and Libra axis is helping us kind of push closer to our purpose and closer to us connecting with our most authentic selves, and to honor the children that we were before we were socialized and told what we could and could not do. Another thing that's going on behind the scenes, and it's more, again, subconscious, not subconscious, but like more subliminal, is the quincunxing to the new moon. So the Uranus quincunx to the new moon, and that's going to provide a little bit of frustration, stress around the area of stability. So again, human nature, we want to be comfortable and kind of do, again, the status quo thing. But, a lot of what the eclipses do in general is to shake things up for your greater good, right? But the Uranus quincunx to this is going to add another layer of just frustration and stress to this energy. But at the same time, it's not all doom and gloom, right? There's some really great energy going on here. We have the rulers of the South and the North node. Whenever you have a polarity, which the South and the North node are, South node and the North node are polarities, there's always this question or ask to integrate. There's really no like, hey, you should just swing all the way to the North node and completely forget the South node tendencies. It's not, I don't think that's an ethical way or even the right way to approach that. But it's releasing the things on Libran that is not supportive of your personhood, right? That's really what it is. And more of an integration. So you get to use your charm, you get to use all of that, the diplomacy and your strong sense of justice. And you also integrate it with your assertiveness and your ability, your willpower, and your ability to get things done. And to see yourself, right? To see yourself shine in the way that is important to you. And so you always have this idea of integration. So I love the fact that the rulers of Aries, which is where the North node is, and the ruler of the South node, which is Libra, they're sextiling each other. So Venus, the ruler of Libra, and Mars, the ruler of Aries, are sextiling each other. So it's I think that's a very supportive energy if you engage, right? Because Venus is in this very practical, pragmatic sign of Virgo. And so Virgo wants to assess things and likes to take in stimuli like data. Like, they're the analysts, they're the accountants, they're here to count the receipts, check the receipts, put it, okay, is this working? No, they're the sifters of the crop. Did this crop work? Did this crop work? Did this crop not work? So there's a energy that can be very good at allowing you to discriminate between what is a productive, what's good for you in your relationship. So allow you to have that more analytical ability. And actually there's mutual reception between Mercury, which is also conjunct the moon and the South node. So there is this, this mental energy, this ability to use your intellect in this really harmonious, diplomatic way. So I'm just seeing someone who has scales, who's weighing things out, who's processing the information, and is actually getting a lot of information to work with to determine what they need to do. But it's also sextiling your Mars, your willpower, your ability to get things done, and how you would address it. And it's in Scorpio. Scorpio is very penetrating and determined. So you've got the willpower to do it, but then it's like, how do you do it? How do I know what is the right thing? And that sextile between Venus and Mars really will help you on your way to that. And but it's a sextile, so you gotta lean into it. Again, a lot of it has to do with leaning into things. You gotta lean into your, with Chiron, you gotta lean into Pluto. You gotta lean into it, and it's just but it's obviously, I'm gonna of course say it's obviously well worth it, but it's something, that's, the energy is supportive here. Also, comment down below, what are you actually kind of excited about getting some traction on getting rid of during eclipse season? Comment down below and let me know. Okay, so let's get into our predictions. So the eclipses are occurring in your 7th house. So the solar eclipse is a south node eclipse, and which means that this will be a time of endings and new beginnings. So I think, if you think about a situation that allows, you have to sometimes remove some old things. It's kind of like when you buy new shoes or new clothes or something, and in order to buy new shoes, you got to get rid of some old stuff that don't fit anymore or out of style. So I think that's kind of what the eclipses do. It's really push you to do that, and push you in the area of where it's of relationships specifically in your chart. And so I think the eclipses really are in your chart is highlighting endings and beginnings in your relationship sector of your chart. And so people tend to get again, people tend to get signs throughout their life or throughout their days or whatever, about what they need to do to make the right choices for, in this case, relationships. And so the eclipse season, again, is a real pow, come on, get it, let's get it. Let's get things going. And so you're really going to be thinking about how do you communicate in relationships? How you're gonna be thinking a lot about relationships in general, but then you're also gonna be thinking about how am I codependent? Themes of codependency and sacrificing yourself, your sense of self, in order to be partnered is gonna be spotlight right now. And the question is, how do you show up for yourself at this time? You've had Venus in retrograde, earlier in the summer. And so, you're really questioning, how do you behave in relationships? And also you're really questioning, how do I have joy? How do I shine in this life and, have the fulfillment and light that I want in my life? And so that's been, that's really highlighted here in your chart. And, I think for my Aries friends, a lot of the help and support's gonna be coming through some work on yourself, right? Work on and dealing with, looking at the man in the mirror, so to speak, right? Looking at how you show up. What is your identity? How does your identity come off, right? Looking, putting more energy into how you present yourself physically at this time. You might be cutting away with Mars opposing Chiron, Mars opposing your ascendant. You could be cutting away parts of your own personality, making changes to your appearance. And so this is a time in which you also need to look at what is painful about myself that I don't like. Is it that, I had a difficult childhood and it's kind of made me respond in certain ways in relationships, or, I am just scared of losing people because of, maybe modeling that I've had in my childhood. Maybe you just have a strong call to do great things, but it's just, you're scared to, you feel like you need people to do it and to get the job done. Like you can't do it yourself, and there's fear about, you know, being the torchbearer and pushing forward. And I'm here to tell you that after with this eclipse energy, you have a lot of determination with your basically your chart ruler being in the 8th house of, you know, just deep transformation. And it, you know, in another home, in its home of Scorpio, another, you know, Scorpio has dual rulers, and Mars also, you know, is at home there. So you're dealing with a really good energy to move forward and be that assertive Aries that we all know you can be. But it's going to require some diving deep into the occult and into astrology and into your psychology, and diving deep into areas that have to do with dependence and connecting with others, and maybe needing people. Like, why do I need to be so connected to someone? Why do I need to have this deep, intense merging with an individual? Doing that type of soul work and that shadow work is going to be really helpful during this time. And so you also have a little bit of fear as well, and a little bit of a blockage. Another area that's blocking you from being able to like access that North Node and kind of address some of the issues in your South Node is Pluto being in your 10th house of public reputation, and it's squaring the node. So it's a fear that's really hard, that's associated to title and status and responsibility, and you're afraid that, you know, it's upsetting to you, right? Because it's a huge blocker. And it's a huge blocker from you being able to be the Aries that you're supposed to be. And so it's, you know, the sense of responsibility. It's like, I feel responsible for people. I feel responsible to take up for the people in my life. I don't have the time to show up for myself. And that's something that I think you're going to be realizing, that that's not fair to yourself. And you have Uranus making a quincunx to the moon, and it's making this time really frustrating and can potentially be destabilizing energy within your 2nd house. So do you have people who depend on you for money in your family and your relationships? That's something to consider. You know, any surprise, there could potentially be surprises associated to material wealth and stability. And so the question is, are you are people being taking advantage of you financially? That's something that maybe you might have not seen because it's, you know, quincunxing, but something that might be an underlying theme here, especially when with Pluto, it's kind of lining up that story as well with the 10th house of public reputation, the sense of, I need to take care of, I have a responsibility, I have a duty. But I'm here to tell you that you do need to work through that pain and learn how to work with that energy without having to sacrifice your personhood. You could be there for people. You do not necessarily have to give them money. You don't have to give them all your time and energy. So I hope this helps you, my beautiful Aries risings, Aries sun, moon, and risings. And I'll hopefully see you for the next eclipse. Bye. Hi, Taurus rising. So this eclipse is going to be occurring in your 6th house. And, you know, people tend to be resistant to change and, you know, all the transits that are happening in the sky. And so the eclipse season is a time for you to officially just break up the logjam, just change something. And I know it's hard for my Taurian brothers and sisters, sun, moon, and risings, of course, who like and thrive on stability and luxuriating and being in the moment. But this is a huge calling for you, and needs to, you know, and I think you've kind of been through a lot when it comes to, I think you're comfortable with the instability. I think, at least at this point, because you have had Uranus in your sign for a very long time. And so there has been a lot of, you've been learning how to deal with that destabilizing energy. And so the sixth house is the house of service. It's the house of health. It's the house of routine. And so, the new moon solar eclipse in the house of routine and coworkers and things like that really is calling you to release Libran tendencies, like low vibration Libran tendencies that don't serve you anymore, don't serve your highest and greatest good. So something, Libra in the sixth house can make someone be the type that, wants to get along because they want to be needed. They want to be of service. They want to help. And they might sacrifice some of themselves in order to be, that person's always going to be there. They're going to always support me. They're always going to be around. And then you end up kind of getting abused. Like you end up getting, and I don't want that for you guys. So having such, huge hearts and wanting to be of service to people, that's I don't want that for you. I mean, it's giving the energy. I'm about to, clock out for the day. And I have a friend or a coworker come up and like, oh, can you do this one thing for me? I got to go on a date, but can you take this like last thing for me off my plate? Thank you. And you say yes. And then but the girl from the office knows that you will say yes anyways. That's the gag. She knows that you would say yes anyways. And so this time is for you to really look at how you are sacrificing your mental health for always being there for people. And so this eclipse season, or specifically this eclipse, the solar eclipse, is going to say, hey, how are you serving yourself first? How are you making sure you're fed? How are you making sure that your needs and your emotional and mental health comes first before helping someone else? It's like putting the oxygen mask on your face first before someone else. And so Chiron in the 12th house is like the wounding around connecting to source and your ability to regenerate and to take time for yourself, to prioritize your spiritual health, your mental health, your, psychological health. And so that is going to be something that you will have to kind of really work on and cut out some things that are also not necessarily serving you in the 12th house, which could be, maybe you are, I could see someone being like, oh, I'm going to go home, I'm not going to drink, whatever. And then you end up doing things that are vicey because you're trying to be with everyone else, right? 12th house rules, vices, right? Not vices, 5th house, but 12th house, like addictions and things like that. So, you have to watch out for that. And maybe that's something you should consider and you'll evaluate in this time is like, how can I heal myself? How can I cut out things that are not great about me in that regard? And also to consider what is painful about being me when I'm alone, when I'm by myself, restoring myself. Like what about me is not worth the rest and retreat? Why am I not good enough for that? Really think about that. I think it's something to consider. So we're also looking at another energy that's affecting you or might affect you is Pluto in your 9th house. And it's transiting your house of higher self, expansive activities, your belief systems, and it's squaring your nodes and all that. So, it's creating a bit of fear around things that would elevate you and take you to the next level. You've probably changed a lot in terms of your belief systems. And I'm going to give you a story. And this plays out very similarly with this. And tell me if this makes sense. So, maybe you're working a dead-end job, or not even a dead-end job. Maybe you love your job, but you know that where you're living, you can't thrive. Maybe you're running the rat race and you just can't thrive. But your beliefs, maybe 3 years ago, you might have said, I will never leave my town, and you found the job and everything's good. But then over the last few years, maybe since the pandemic, you've realized, you know what? I need to work from home. I need to protect my mental health. I can't do commutes anymore. I can't be caught up at the office and someone stop me as I'm walking out the door. I can't do that. So, realizing that and realizing your belief systems, maybe, you're like, maybe I just need to move. Hail Mary this thing and move. And hopefully I'll be able to, have some balance in my mental health. And so that's kind of how I see it. I see that you have a change within you and what is important to you. And work is, it possesses like your work area or your routine or your health. You're kind of doing the same bad habits. And that if you maybe changed your location, traveled, left, maybe started a new spiritual practice, something, or just learned a new vacation, that it would break you out of this mindset that you have to, give of yourself, sacrifice yourself at the altar of other people's needs. And hopefully through that, working out the fear of, dang, I believe something completely different from what I thought I did, that transformation in that area, maybe in that, working with that, you can, access tools to have the mental health and the mental stability that you're looking for. And that's all I got for you, beautiful Taurians. And I'll see you next time. Gemini. Okay. So the eclipse will be occurring in your 5th house. The 5th house represents creativity, love affairs, romance, children, areas of your life that kind of is how you shine. You put things out in the world. It's even entrepreneurial house, a house of vices. And so the question is, how are you sacrificing yourself at the altar of those things, and not allowing you to be your most authentic self in your social circles and in the areas of your life that allows you to dream and dream big and profit from that. So some low vibrational, I shouldn't say low vibrational, but the things that, some tendencies that would be Libra and that does not necessarily would serve you anymore could be, obviously sacrificing yourself for children, sacrificing yourself, your personhood for social relationships or casual relationships. And, a lot of things that are happening on this, on the South Node side of your chart is something that is supposed to be a light in your life, and I think that of all this, you're one of the signs that are going to get it a little easier. So the new moon solar eclipse is a time where you're going to be releasing old tendencies that don't serve your greatest and higher good, and you're going to be welcoming. It'll make space for things that are new beginnings, things that can help elevate you and take you to the next level so that you can show up for yourself. Gemini, your sign or your ruler, your planetary ruler, Mercury, is conjunct the moon. And so it's really first of all, when you have, again, it's highlighting a lot. It's highlighting, what are you passionate about? What are you, how do you show up in the creative way? How are you expressing yourself in this way that feels fair and balanced? And how are you finding things that light you up? But also it's asking you, how also are you hemming and hawing and being indecisive? How are you sacrificing yourself for your children potentially, or for casual relationships? How are you sacrificing parts of the things that you want in order to be partnered, or to be a good mom, or to to, even parts of you that doesn't necessarily satisfy the goals you have for entrepreneurship. Maybe there are parts of things, that relationships that you need to let go of in order for you to find your way. And some of the work that you need to do is to heal some of the wounding that's associated to social norms. So in order for you to not kind of sacrifice what you need, you also need to kind of address maybe your uniqueness and the things that do make you shine, and how maybe it's a little different, but it's okay, right? And for you to assess, and truly like dream big, and the thing about Chiron and Aries in the 11th house is like, there's a fear about that wild dreaming. It's like, what's painful about being that wild dreamer? And if you were to remove that fear, or if you were to remove that discomfort of engaging with who you are supposed to be in social settings, or the dreams that the dreams and the hopes and the goals you have, if you were able to engage in that in an authentic way, what would your life be like? And so working with that energy, I think, and you'll have that ability to really ascertain through, I think maybe family, people highlighting those types of, things that you can be looking at, maybe through some, health regimens, asking, people who know you best, like your family, to kind of to provide or spotlight where you can best shine for yourself. I think that this is a good energy though, because what we're dealing with is a lot of focus on some of the best parts of you. You get to be connected with people. It's just, how do you do that in a way that's authentic to you, and it really allows you to have that freedom and that breath to be able to do what needs to be done. And with Pluto in the 8th house, I feel like Geminis can, they can be very they're very mental, they're in the mental plane a lot. They're ruled by Mercury. And so there's gonna be a lot of thinking and processing. But, Pluto has been doing a number on your 8th house, really asking you how, to assess how you share resources, where's that money coming from other spouses' money? Really asking you, okay, like, and actually highlighting fears associated to that. Because those can actually be blockers from you being able to be your most authentic self and your most, authentic self. So it's like, okay, I have this business, or this, this home business, and some of the blockers could be like, my husband's resources are not able to float, and help finance it, or I feel too dependent on my husband to help me finance my project, and he has too much of a say, or someone else has a say, or an investor has too much of a say, and it's keeping me from being able to be my authentic self. So there's going to be things that will allow you and become clear what you need to do in order to set yourself free. But again, you've got to engage with it. All the energy for this month is a lot of engagement. However, you have a lot of energy to support you making a lot of progress, but it does require you leaning into it. Also, 8th house can also just Pluto being in the 8th house, so maybe some old fears and intense relationships can also be a little bit of a blocker. Maybe some of the esoteric things and occult things that you've been learning, you have a lot of fear about putting yourself out there, and maybe you are an astrologer and you want to do this, but you care too much about other people in order to really engage in the true passions that are really yours. And so the question is, how do I cut out the parts of myself that really keeps me from showing up for myself? I am an astrologer. And honestly, this is something speaks to me, is like, I am an astrologer, but I haven't told a lot of my friends that I'm astrologer, my family, that I'm an astrologer. And so it's like cutting out that fear, cutting out the fear of being authentically you, even though it has to do with a little bit of, woo woo and like some magic and stuff like that. So I wish you the best, Gemini, and I'll see you next eclipse. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. I'm going to go ahead and say that you are loved. You're in a safe place. It's not going to, you've been kind of going through it since, pretty much since the nodes shifted over into Aries. I mean, you've been, it hasn't been the hardest for you, but it hasn't been easy either. And a lot of things have happened probably since summer of 2022, particularly in the area of home and family and your public reputation. The eclipse will be in your 4th house of home, family, real estate, family lineage. And so your ruler is, again, involved with this eclipse. So your sign is squaring the nodes, which adds an energy of tension and difficulty. And so the question is for you, what are you releasing? What is coming to an end so it makes way for a new beginning in the area of family, home, real estate, all that? So are you moving to a better neighborhood? Maybe you're in a place where you were living, maybe out of your means, maybe, or something, you're living in an area that suited you at one point, but no longer suits you, and it's time to really, really move. Maybe it's family members that you have to let go. Maybe it's relationships within the family unit that is just not serving you anymore and has pulled out a part of you that and engages a part of you that you kind of sacrifice your personhood in order to play nice and to get along. And so that's been, that's kind of been percolating for a while, especially when you had the eclipse earlier this year in Aries. And I think that this will kind of be reactivated and give you the emotional readiness to be able to address some of these issues. Again, when you have, because you got Moon and Mercury and the Sun all really just close together like this, and the nodes, there is a clear messaging of what you need to do in order to step into your authenticity. And I think that you're going to be feeling an intense emotional weight and question of like, hey, come on, like, you've got to make a decision. And so it will probably play out in a little more of a crisis scenario than, I have to be honest, sorry. But I think there's a lot of supportive energy that can help you on this chart, and we'll talk about it in a bit. One thing that you have to learn to do is to evaluate and assess the pain that's associated, related to your status and your public reputation. And so it's like, if you're known as a father, the responsibility of that, and then feeling like, okay, my family needs me, so therefore I need to sacrifice my personhood in order to show up for my family. Now, that's a hard thing, right? We're talking about, potentially a career versus family. That's not easy, right? But, the idea is that it's an integration thing. It's not a one or the other. It's not a sacrificing one thing. It's more of the art of balance. It's the art of Libra. Libra wants to balance and find justice and beauty in harmony in the way it works, approaches life. But there are times where the Libran tendencies end up being codependent, ends up being limiting, ends up closing off your voice. And that's not where we want to be. Pluto adds another layer of fear and stress, and even sometimes obsession in relationships. So a relationship can block you from being able to get to where you need to go, and like really, again, get to the point where you really connect to your personhood and your authentic self. So, again, you have this unconscious patterning, or you would call it like just things that don't serve you anymore in the fourth house in your family sector. And maybe your relationship with your spouse, maybe a relationship with the demands of a business partner, or the stress from having an open enemy affects you being able to shine and emerge publicly. Maybe it just kind of beats you down. Those relationships kind of beat you down, and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay home. I'm just gonna stay in this neighborhood. I'm just gonna stay, how my people do, like, because also it's, ancestral lineage. I'm not gonna do anything that, I come from a West Indian culture, and so, there's a lot of mores and norms and stuff like that. And so I would say that I'm not quite like everyone else, but and I don't, necessarily subscribe to a lot of the traditional stuff. And of course, I'm first generation, so that dilution happens. But sometimes people feel this sense of commitment to a culture or their group or their tribe, and that the relationships within that tribe can block them from being able to just do what they want to do and be the person they want to be and present to the world in the way that they feel like their purpose and what they are called to do. So something to consider, and maybe a confrontation, a healthy, constructive confrontation with someone, a relationship in your life might be in order, and maybe possibly severing certain people. But I think it'll be very clear. You'll be emotionally ready to address these things. It's gonna feel crunchy, what can I say? But I think you can do this. You've got Venus on your side, so it's going to help you with communication and with that diplomacy, and be able to pragmatically ascertain what you need to do during this time. And also will have the determination for you to be able to act on it. But again, everything in this eclipse requires effort, so nothing's going to just slide on in. So with that all said, I'll see you next eclipse, my wonderful Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Bye. So hello, my lovely Sun, Moon, and Rising Leos. We are looking at the solar eclipse in Libra, which is occurring in your third house of communication, siblings, neighborhoods, your community of origin, communication, writing. That's all that it comes that comes in there, and many other things, cousins and things like that. And Libra is the sign that is associated to balance, beauty, harmony, but on a low vibrational approach to, or like perspective on Libra, is that it can be indecisive, codependent, self-sacrificing, and can have issues with being alone, even if it's for their greater good. And so this year, or this eclipse is going to bring endings and beginnings. These endings in the area of neighborhoods and whatnot might bring about an opportunity for a new life, or a new opportunity, right? So old opportunities will bring in new opportunities, right? And so, I remember, because I had some nodal changes in the same axis a few years ago. And what happened with me was we moved, and it was after 34 years of living in one area. I moved out of state, thinking that I had my kids and everything, thought I was going to live there for my whole life. And it's just something that I realize, I'm like, oh wow, this doesn't, I outgrew this. So, Libra in the third house is really asking you, how are you showing up authentically for yourself in the area of how, your neighborhood, where you live? Are you sacrificing yourself for, the people around you, like neighbors? Are you sacrificing or being indecisive or wishy-washy, or kind of like indirect in how you communicate with people around the things that bother you or the things that are important to you? Are there siblings that you need to, gather together? Is there some cousins that are a mess and need to be checked? Like, who, this might be a time where you're looking at those elements and saying, okay, what do I release and what do I believe? And I want to step into the beliefs that make me feel whole and make me feel like my authentic self. Because, that third and ninth house axis is really like my skills and the things that I've learned. And the ninth house is like, and the people that I grew up with and the people around me and my family, kind of. And then the ninth house is higher learning, travel, foreign places, foreign people, foreign things, spirituality, developing oneself, belief systems, and kind of expanding beyond what you've known your whole life. And so that can be scary. So the question of Chiron being there opposing, this new moon, it's really asking you, what's painful about what you believe? What's scary about it? Does it mean that you won't be that servant, that person who's always helpful, who always is dependable, who's always there for me? Like, does that mean that you are not going to always be that person? Does it mean that, that your beliefs could be an affront or can be an affront to the community that you were originally a part of? So maybe you grew up in a rural Christian small town, and your belief systems can, maybe they've changed. Maybe you went off to college, maybe you moved to a big city, maybe you moved to just a different city and you've changed your perspective. It could be vice versa, right? It could be you came from a big city and you had kids and your belief systems changed and you ended up being more, protective and conservative in the way that you think in your belief systems. And so being able to stand and act on that change in your beliefs can be a little scary, because it can mean that you're not going to be there for people in the way that you thought you were originally. And you're not going to be able to, you also could be feeling a blockage about your belief systems or your ability to really stand in your authentic beliefs, due to maybe just general, like, for example, I think another thing could be that maybe if it's in the scenario of moving and having fears about moving, even though moving neighborhoods could be a really important step in you being able to align your beliefs and who you are together, right? It would be a huge step, but you could potentially be walking away from a workspace. You could be potentially walking away from, a routine and a lifestyle that you might have been used to and have become accustomed to. It could also mean that you walk away from the people and the network of people that you have grown to be able to support and help. And so, it could really be difficult. But the question is, and the challenge is here, is that, you have changed and your beliefs have changed, and certain people can't come with you. Some people just really can't come with you. And so these eclipse season will highlight the more, like, I don't say like auxiliary, I don't know what you call it, but the people kind of to your side, ancillary, I think is the word, people in your life that are also supporting maybe belief systems that no longer support you and no longer serve you. So hopefully, this helps. I know that Venus is also gonna, is in your second house of values and money, and so you're gonna be like the accountant, like, okay, so is this financially making sense for us to move? I want to really you'll be able to pragmatically determine, okay, these are the things I value, this is what I believe, let's align it and let's get it, let's do this. So I think, but you got to lean into it. All of this energy requires a little bit of leaning into, and yeah, so I hope this helps. See you next eclipse season. Bye. Okay, Virgo. You have your solar eclipse is going to be in your second house of finances, self-worth, money, the things you possess, your assets, your material sense of your security, your material wealth, again, possessions and whatnot. And so the question for this month is, or specifically the solar eclipse, is what are some things I'm holding on to that no longer serve me? This eclipse is a south node eclipse, and so it is a time of beginnings or endings to make way for new beginnings, right? And so the question is, like, what are some areas of your life that no longer serve you, in which you've sacrificed your autonomy and your sense of self in order to help make things seemingly balanced and to satisfy other people, right? So in this case, it could be that your finances are a huge spotlight, and it potentially put you in a situation where you're looking at really what you need to let go of financially. What are some assets you need to get rid of? What are some things that you need to unload? And what are some belief systems and sense of, self-worth? Some of like the tapes, or like the beliefs, not belief systems, but like the things that about yourself. What are some things that don't work for you anymore? What are some like mantras that keep playing in your head that are no longer serving who you are and have nothing to do with who you are going into the future? The North Node in Aries is really asking you to pull out of, first of all, to release again some of the things that are keeping you from being able to truly have financial stability, and also take that energy to go in deep and to explore the occult and to explore complex psychological themes. It can also ask you to, assess what it would look like to use debt in order to finance certain things. Some of the wounding and some of the pain that you need to address, though, in order to feel comfortable with doing these deep dives and kind of exploring kind of the taboo and hidden areas of life, is to ask yourself, what are you scared of finding? A lot of people, are scared of Scorpios and Scorpionic energy because they really don't want to see the truth. I do think Scorpio and Sagittarius are both truth-seeking signs, but for different ways. Sagittarius wants to see the truth in this more buoyant way, and is more on this optimistic energy, whereas the Scorpio sense of truth is, I want to see the heaven and the hell, and I want to see all facets of the things in life that are true. So if it means that I have to go to the darkest, deepest parts of human experience, I'll do that. And so Chiron in the 8th house of Aries is really highlighting the fear and the pain that comes with being someone who has that intense depth and needs that. And, you know, wanting that. And it kind of can block you and kind of keep you in this place of just simply wanting stability. You know, like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna like try to just truck along and have them, you know, just keep things simple and keep it harmonious and beautiful. But we all know that sometimes you just scratch the surface and there's just so much there. And so, you know, I think this North Node, this solar eclipse is really highlighting the fact that, okay, you can do the safe thing as long as you want, but you need to understand that there's a depth in the human experience and that you need to explore that more. You also need to be comfortable with needing others and having a deep emotional, physical, financial intimacy and being okay with that. Because I think another area of pain in this situation is the fear of being so dependent and merged with someone, and then you possibly lose them or lose that thing or lose the connection or lose that, you know, whatever that is. So it could be the fear of when you lift up the rug, there's something under it. And there's the fear of, again, I'm merged with someone so deeply. I'm merged financially with someone. I'm merged with someone so intimately that if they were to leave, part of me could be lost forever. So some of the things that can be blocking you as well from being able to access your authentic self, you know, could be related to Pluto being in the 5th house and maybe overspending, overzealous, you know, some type of power dynamics and control dynamics associated to a relationship. You could have someone who's just a naysayer, someone who keeps you from being able to explore the deeper experiences of life and keeps things on this like superficial level. It could also be children and, you know, possible vice activities. Maybe you're doing a little too much and it's kind of not allowing you to explore the depth of the human experience in a constructive and useful way. So I do think, though, you know, Venus being in your 1st house is a very supportive energy where you're able to really access relationships and lean on the right people. Again, Virgo is a very discerning, and I'm not saying discerning spiritually or psychically discerning, but discerning as like an accountant or discerning as someone who's like taking tally of things. And so right now, I think that this is a really good time for you to assess who is in your life and the relationships that matter to you and the relationships that will help put you on your purpose. I think that's going to be really helpful for you. And I think you're going to be feeling very comfortable with speaking up for yourself and communicating the things that you need. I think that's going to be really nice for you during the eclipse. And just, be careful not to pop off too hard on poor bystanders. But I think that this could be a time where you really have a lot of power behind the things you say and the things you write and the way you communicate to people. So, and with that said, I wish you the best and I will see you on the next eclipse. So Libra. Oh my God, we've been through it. It's been really hard. Not only have we had a lot of stuff going on in our home sector, we've had a lot of weird stuff going on in the love sector and relationships with people. I mean, it's just not been easy. Feelings of just also, especially last month, it was really bad when the sun was in Virgo. It just did not feel good at all. So I'm really happy for Libra season. And I feel a lot better I think that I'm looking forward to what's in store for us, because I do need a little bit of like, just go ahead and rip the band-aid off. Let's just get it. Like, it is what it is. So Libra, the solar eclipse in Libra is going to be happening in your first house of you. So a lot of changes within your appearance, your, identity, your, your personality, your sense of independence and your identity. Well, a lot of that's going to be coming into question of what are parts of those things, your identity and whatnot, are not serving you anymore, and what are the things that you need to release, and how can you come into your authentic self and show up for yourself within relationships. And so as a Libra rising, Libra sun, moon rising, by the way, relationships are core to who you are, right? Relationships are very important to you. And depending on, your aspects and your chart, it could be something that consumes you completely, to the point where you don't have anything left for yourself, because you're thinking about everyone else. You're doing so much for everyone else. And then you're like, oh, wait, me? Oh, yeah, sorry. But it's always interesting because Libras are like, so like able to do it all, like we try because we care about appearances so much. And so we kill ourselves to make it happen. But we end up sacrificing ourselves and our vitality. And with the South Node in our first house, you first of all got to protect the physical body. You've got to know that the South Node has this like a light knob. It will kind of dim the light a little bit, and it will kind of decrease your vitality and your energy. And so self-care, please. Baths. And actually, I have a self-care video. Go ahead and look up my 12th house video. I'll put the link up down up above. Check out the 12th house video. I really want you to check it out, because I think that it's going to be really key for you to be able to just really tap into the techniques of self-care and spirituality. So go ahead and check out my video up above. I think it's going to be here. And and do everything on that, because it's really important to take care of yourself, because again, the South Node on our sign, it's just going to drain. So some things that to consider as far as some blockers and things that are affecting your ability to fully step into your personhood and your identity and your authenticity is associated to relationships, and is associated to the pain of being yourself within relationships. And that's a weird one, right? Because the question is like, what is painful about being you in a relationship? And it's like, is it someone not potentially loving you for you? Like, that happens a lot, where Libras try to make things beautiful and try to make things as perfect as possible and look perfect as possible. And that can take a lot of energy out of a person. And it's all through the fear of being like, well, I gotta do all this in order to for someone to love me and want me and to want to work with me. And so there could be some severing of, needing to sever relationships that also don't support you being your authentic self, and potentially severing partnerships that also keep you from being able to be the best you. Another thing that can be addressing or affecting Libras is Pluto squaring the nodes. And it's a huge transformational time. Like, it really does push you forward into transformation, but it can be a scary energy that you're working with. And kind of blocking you from being able to feel 100% comfortable, as well as keeping you sorry, how do I say this? It can potentially keep you from completely accessing your true authenticity in relationships and partnerships. And Pluto in the 4th house is is family and real estate, and the culture and tribe and the family of origin, and the culture of origin. Those types of the beliefs within the family, individuals from family, the duty that is associated to the family space can easily affect your ability to be yourself and be your authentic self in your relationships. I mean, I could see someone really, struggling with the fact that how they see the structures of their that they've grown up in doesn't suit who they want to be with, right? So maybe you grew up in a very religious household, and you married someone or got into business with someone who had, my earbud was in here the whole time. You might have had someone who, you married someone who shared the same belief systems as you when you were growing up, and has the same culture as you when you're coming up. And then you've changed so much, and you've transformed your idea of what, the systems, the beliefs around the systems that you grew up in. And now it's like keeping you from being able to stand up for yourself in relationships. I think about more traditional cultures where maybe the traditional culture that you grew up in and your family possesses or has might say, okay, women should not speak up, or maybe women need to have certain gender roles. And there's a fear of showing up for yourself and saying, hey, I actually want to share duties. I actually want to work. I want to not work. Who knows what, there's a culture for everything. So, maybe I don't want to work and I want to stay at home. And that can be, will you still love me if I don't, keep going with that, keep going with what the tribe dictates. So that's something that can be brought up during this time of the eclipses, and really highlights the importance of standing up for yourself in that regard, and really releasing parts of your identity that keeps you from being your authentic self within relationships. But yeah, it will be a little crunchy to do that. And I think you'll have the tools to be able to work on that. I think you're going to feel really determined, because I think a lot of your self-worth and your sense of identity is really, you're in a good place. I think you're in a good place. I think that what you need to do is work on self-care, first of all. Work on really healing ancestral trauma. I know that's a really intense thing, and it would take a lot of time, but I think that these eclipses in the 1st and 7th houses of your chart are really going to constantly hit home on this concept of mental health, self-care and healing, and working on your spiritual health and your psychological health, and meditation and all that stuff, and connecting to other realms and all that. I think that that's going to be huge, and it's going to be a support to you if you access it. Okay, so all this energy here is going to be about accessing it during this time. I love you, Libras. We can do it. Yes, we can. I know we can. Okay, I'll see you next eclipse. Bye. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. The solar eclipse will be occurring in your 12th house of spirituality, spiritual transcendence, seclusion, unconscious, the unconscious. Also has to do with retreat, think places that you go and you retreat at to restore yourself. So it can be meditation centers, it can be yoga, retreats, hospitals and things like that. And it can also be an area where there's secrets. Often most of the family skeletons in the closet are hidden in the 12th house, and also addictions. So, the solar eclipse in Libra is conjunct the South Node is asking you, in those areas that I just listed out that's associated to 12th house, what are some things you need to release in order for you to come into your authentic self? In Aries, North Node's in Aries. And so, releasing potential toxic behaviors, codependent relationships that kind of are hidden and don't support you coming into the light, like secret relationships, is something that can be at play here. Potential addictions that no longer serve you and are, taking a toll on your mental health. That's something to consider. Releasing, again, the need to maybe protect people's secrets. I think, a lot of people, and I feel like Scorpios hold a lot of, I wouldn't say trauma, but they hold a lot. They hold a lot, and whatever that means to you, I know you Scorpios, you know what I mean. You guys hold a lot for a lot of people and for yourself and just the experiences you've had in life. And so this might be a time where you're like, I'm not holding this no more. I'm not holding this for you guys. You guys need to figure this. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to hold the family secrets. I'm not going to hold on to a relationship that doesn't even want to show me, I'm not going to hold on to a person that doesn't want to show me around and show me as a person that is important to their life. Like, holding on to vices that have beaten me down for a while. Like, I'm identifying, or, you will be identifying and spotlighting those things. And, one of the blockers and the difficult things about coming into your authenticity is the fear and the pain about about being who you are, being yourself. Chiron in Aries is about self-esteem and you being yourself, the pain around that. And that pain could always throw you back into the 12th house of seclusion and just not dealing with things and kind of hiding things and stuffing them down. But we all know the more you stuff things down and hold space and things for other people, that stuff can bubble up and it can affect your physical vitality, your health. So we don't want that. Like, we don't want people being able to have that, to take our vitality from us. So I really, really challenge you to kind of work on self-care, work on meditation, work on healthy forms of the 12th house. And if you're interested, I did a 12th house year video. So if you want to understand a little bit more what the 12th house is, go ahead and I will hit a link for that. And then, or set up a link, up above for that. And then also, if you want some tips on how to serve yourself and help with your self-care practices, I got a 30-day spirituality journey, and it's not religious in any way. It's like just how you tap into your spirituality, how do you connect with yourself and source. So go ahead and check that out. I'm gonna put it up here because I think that you need this right now. The sun is highlighting the 12th house. The sun is highlighting what has been hidden for way too long, and what you need to cut out and right now so you can have a new beginning. So, and some things, I think transformation is going to be huge during this time. But at the same time, you have Pluto squaring your nodes, which, yes, pushes you to change and pushes you to transform and to really step into your authenticity. But there's a lot of fear associated to that. And so with that, you know, there's a fear of speaking up and using your voice. You know, there's a fear of the people in your orbit, whether it's siblings or whatever, that are keeping you from being able to step into the light and use your voice. And so that's something you're going to have to lean into to kind of heal, and to be able to again, be your most authentic self. Okay, Scorpios, you got this. Because I think, you know, you have Venus in the 11th house, and that's a really good spot to have Venus. It's going to allow you to be pragmatic and diplomatic in the way that you are assessing your relationships. And that's sextiling Mars. So it's going to give you, and it's in the first house. Mars is in the first house, and it's home, please. Like, you're going to have a lot more determination to work on it. However, the determination is not going to actually do it. You have to do the work and lean into it. So I'll leave that there. Scorpios, I'll see you next eclipse. Bye. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. How are you guys doing? You guys are in a good place. I mean, there's other signs that are getting done dirty around here, but I think you are going to be just fine. However, the eclipses are the eclipses, so they are going to be, the solar eclipse is going to be occurring in your 11th house of, you know, hopes, dreams, social networks, communities, your group association, the people who are like-minded, who are like you, and the community you choose who are like you, and the friends you choose, and who share similar beliefs. So because the South Node is in the 11th house, there's a, you know, potential, and South Node and the eclipse are in the 11th house. There is a, you know, potential that you might be releasing communities that you once were committed to. You know, releasing communities that you gave so much of yourself. I think that when you have someone who has like Libra in a other sign, right? So the Aries risings and, you know, Sagittarius risings, because it makes their Libra in Aquarius, which is a very humanitarian, considering others, the greater good type of energy. You end up having a person that can sacrifice themselves and take a literal backseat. I mean, I think one of my teachers, they I guess created a picture of what an Aquarius is like, and it's like they have all these people that they support, and they want, you know, they're very social people, and then they, you know, build people up, and then they step back and they let everyone else be great, and then they take a back seat. And I think that is unfortunate. I mean, it's beautiful because you're able to, you know, to have that mindset and that drive to care about the greater good is a wonderful thing and a characteristic of Aquarian energy, or you know, an Aquarius or whatever, because the 11th house has Aquarian energy to it. But I think that in this case, because it's the South Node, we're asked, you know, Sagittarius, you guys are being asked to release areas where you are sacrificing yourself for the greater good of others. We're not asking for more martyrdom, okay? We're asking for contributing to humanity in a way and helping people progress themselves, but not at the altar. You know, like, not to sacrifice yourself at the altar of that, you know? You must, you know, and the eclipse, I'm going to tell you anything. The eclipses are going to do it for itself. It's going to highlight that, you know, there's areas where you might be a little indecisive of what you want and your goals and dreams and your hopes. You might also kind of consider others and possibly limit your hopes and dreams based off of other people. And that can be also a thing. And the whole idea with, the North Node in Aries in the 5th house is like, I want you to expand. Like, you're supposed to expand on what you want, what makes you shine, what's your hobbies, what you're passionate about. So it's like, and it's weird because also, get Chiron there in the 5th house, kind of being a blocker, let's be honest, making it painful to lean into that, right? Asking you got to heal. Why are you so uncomfortable with connecting with your own passions, not the passions of others, and allowing other people to thrive in their passions? But why is it scary? And I think it's very exposing to have a product, to express your creativity, to, start a business, to have children. That's the 5th house. And showing up for yourself in a way and defending who you are in those spaces can be very difficult, because what if your art sucks? Like, what if someone doesn't like your $1 million business idea? What if someone is not going to love you or appreciate you in a dating situation the way that you appreciate them? That's going to be that can be hard. But you have to, a lot of self work and, meditation and self-reflection is going to be needed here in order to, kind of address some of that pain of like being yourself, because it's like kind of like, I can't touch the heat, but you have to, because you got to work on that, because that's the whole idea, is pushing towards your North Node. But I think the North Node helps also kind of be a slight balm, and it's like, the risks, the benefits outweigh the risks when you have a North Node in Chiron. So you kind of, it's a little easier in that regard because there's an opportunity for healing, right? Squaring the nodes is Pluto in the 2nd house of self-worth, finances, and finances, material wealth, assets, and things like that, personal values. And I think that, that really plays into this, the whole narrative of like, your fears about you being good enough, and your fears about, even just having the financial ability to engage with your passions. It's easier to justify doing stuff for others, but financially, I just somehow can't support doing things for myself. It's really funny, And so, I think the eclipses are getting exacerbated by the fear of doing the wrong things financially and doing the wrong things and having having issues with self-worth and self-esteem, of being like, well, I'm not good enough to invest in my own creativity. People need me. Like, what am I doing for myself? Like, people need me. That's much more of a higher calling. And I never say to let go of that, because it's very beautiful to have that calling. But the thing is that you need to integrate it. Give yourself space to shine yourself. So that's my little thing for you, Sagittarius. I will quickly say that, you're going to have a lot of support in the public space and your public reputation. You got a lot of clout, Sagittarius. Okay. So people are not going to be upset with you if you chose yourself. Okay. You got a lot of clout out here with Venus in the 10th house. So I think, at least in this, in this period, and then you're going to also have a lot of deep into do a lot of internal work and do a lot of self-care to really, and try to really do some like spiritual, psychological shadow work to understand, why am I not picking me? But again, if you lean into it, you actually have a lot of support for this. So I'm really excited and hopeful that you Lean into this energy, and I'll see you next eclipse. Capricorn, sun, moon, and risings. Okay, so your solar, I keep saying, I have so many words. New moon solar eclipse is going to be occurring in your 10th house of Libra. And it's going to, conjunct Mercury in the south node. And really it's asking you, how are you not showing up for yourself in your career? What are some things that you need to release in terms of your public reputation, your status, your sense of authority, your title even, that allows you to, what do you need to release in order for you to step into your authenticity, right? And Libra, again, is such a, it wants to be, think about having your Libra being at the top of your chart. Like, think about that. People see you as a fair person. Someone sees you as someone who's easy to, connect with. And probably people come to you for advice and for the right, what should I do? And you tend to be able to tell them just the right things. And I'm thinking that sometimes you always being available can be, and being someone who's like, oh, I'm going to tell my daddy, and people come to you because they're like, oh, they're the one, right? They're the one. They got it together. And having that, but the thing is that can be, having one person see you as that is one thing, but having the world or society or, being known for the person that you can come to and can settle things can be a little tiring. So releasing, codependence when it comes to certain people needing you because you've been pegged as the authority figure, as seen as the person who's the responsible one, I think that's going to be huge. Releasing any type of, I see a lot of Capricorns potentially releasing careers, moving and leaving a career. I see that as a potential because I think, some whole careers are just not it for the people. People have changed a lot. You are a completely different person since 2008. Most people are, right? But for some people, they're not. But you are a completely different person. You probably changed physically significantly. Your identity and the way you show up and you do things, how you do things, completely different. But that change in you has possibly has arose some type of person that is not what people thought you, or is not aligned or not the same as who you really are, right? So you have this public image and people are expecting certain things of you, and you've changed so much, and they don't know who you are when you're behind closed doors and what your needs are and what you want. And so some of the fear around, this is me, I've changed, I don't know how I'm gonna bring this together where I'm a different person. I literally am a different person, and bring that together with how I show up in the world and how I retreat and I, not retreat and restore, but how I am in my private space. How do I show up for myself within my family and within my ethnic community, you could say, or your tribe? And, Chiron in the fourth house, opposing your this new moon solar eclipse really is challenging you to try to address some of the pain and the wounding associated to who you are through your family, through the lens of your lineage, your ancestral lineage, and to address even where you live. It could possibly be that you know, you're so tied to the group and the community, and you don't know who you could possibly be by yourself, you know? And so, you know, a question of that is like, who am I if I'm not with my tribe? That's scary, you know? That's really scary. But I think that there's a lot of support when it comes to, again, you being blessed by some of the changes in your beliefs. I think another thing that's really important here in your chart, and that's going to be affecting you in the solar and your solar during the solar eclipse on the 14th, is that you are going to have to, you're going to feel compelled to speak up. Like, you're going to feel compelled to say what's on your mind and what you need and what you want. And you're going to, you know, I think there's a potential for ruffling some feathers, but I think you're setting boundaries. And I think that you are kind of setting the tone of what you expect from other people outside of your, you know, family. And also just showing up for your family. Because also another element to this is that you could be like, it's the person who's the doctor or the you know, the OBGYN who has to leave their family at night to go deliver someone else's family, you know? And so, or deliver someone else's child. And again, it's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, you know, you do sacrifice a core part of yourself. And so something to consider. And hopefully this, but I think that again, like, this will provide you some boundaries of being able to, you know, speak up in the way that you need to be heard, to express what you need from other people, particularly people that you interact with on a public space and in your career and things like that. So I hope this was helpful, Capricorn, and I'll see you in the next eclipse. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. So the solar eclipse will be occurring in your 9th house of higher self, spirituality. It's more like religion, not like transcendent spirituality, but like more religion. High, just expansive activity. So like college, university learning, not a skill, but like going back to school to learn. It's associated to your beliefs and your knowledge. Again, elevating yourself, developing your sense of identity. Those are the types of things. Also has to do with foreign things, foreign people, travel. And again, just expansive activity. So your the eclipse in your 9th house is very interesting, because I think I'm the type of person that's always like striving to learn more and do more, and more is more. And so, you know, to have the South Node in your 9th house, you know, 9th house of beliefs, and, you know, just like travel and higher self and expansive activity. It was like, I think about, you know, beliefs that no longer serve you, right? It can be limiting beliefs. It can be just beliefs that you had, that you know, maybe you grew up conservative, then you became extremely liberal in college, and now you have kids and family, and now you're not as conservative anymore. Or you feel bad because maybe you're part of all these groups or something, political groups, and now you're not even as liberal or, you know, progressive as you thought you were, you know, that type of thing. So, you know, the eclipses are really going to call a completion era for you and really ask you to release a part of you that you're kind of considering other people before yourself. And so in this case, yeah, belief systems that no longer serve you, but again, you're part of a community that might, you know, support a certain belief system, maybe releasing some type of again, past knowledge. Maybe you went on a degree path and it's not for you. It's not working out, and you're trying and you're working and you're really trying your best, but maybe it's not going to work out for you. Maybe you're going to have a change in heart as far as your, vocational direction. And so that's going to be, a possibility. Another possibility can be that you are reevaluating some of your, your spiritual path and some of your religious beliefs, releasing some of the old that doesn't fit you anymore. And that can also be tied to relationships. So it sucks because you're like, I just want to I believe these things, but maybe you not believing certain things, maybe you leaving school, maybe if you're in college or something, might actually be a release of individuals who are associated to that, and that can be really hard. And the Chiron is opposing all of this, really highlighting the pain that is associated to, going back home, right? Like really standing in what you've learned. Not necessarily what you believe, but what you've learned, and kind of focusing back on, who you are in terms of how your immediate community. And it gives this energy of like going back home. Like you've done all these trips, you've done all these journeys, and now it's just time to pack up your stuff and go back to basics. But that can be, the wound of maybe being like, dang, I'm going back to basics. Like I never thought I'd be going back home. Maybe there's just a fear of going back. There's a fear of having to start all over again. You've built up so much credit and credibility, maybe in certain places and based off of your beliefs, and now you're kind of pulling back on that and really stepping into your own authenticity in how you communicate and how you interact with your community, your immediate community that you live around. And maybe you questioning, and hey, you might have to actually sever some type of inappropriate relationships, codependent relationships, what have you, with siblings and cousins and neighbors and people like that. So some things to consider, but I do think that some other things that can be afoot here is that there could be some spiritual some repressed feelings that are keeping you from being able to make the leap, and are keeping you from, releasing some of those belief systems that don't serve you anymore. Again, fear around, not being accepted or loved or whatever, can be a huge thing as you're leaving and potentially severing parts of your belief systems, and thus potentially some of the relationships. And so you might have to lean into some of the dark spaces, the spaces that are uncertain, and the spaces that are needing a lot of self-care, and leaning into some isolation, themes of isolation, in order to get you back on your spiritual path. I hope this helps. I think that, with Venus in the 8th house of Virgo on your chart, there is going to be this challenge and this question and this ask to dive deep. You've changed a lot, your belief system. So a little bit of deep diving on, on what, like doing a lot of shadow work on yourself might be very useful. And again, I think that you're going to feel very motivated, and you're going to be seen as a very motivated person, and your reputation is going to be solid. So you might be worried about losing people, and in changing and acting on the change of the shifts in your beliefs. But I do believe that people respect you and would support the changes that you're making, and it wouldn't be a 100% severing of all relationships. That it could be just the relationships that needed to go a long time in anyways. So I hope this is helpful. Again, all the work that you want to do is going to have to require some leaning into it. I hate to break it to you, but you got this, okay? All right, Aquarius, I'll see you at the next eclipse. Hi, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. The solar eclipse will be occurring in your 8th house of taboo activities, other people's resources, intimacy. They say the sex house, but it's arguable. But the occult, psychology, deep, psychological work. And so this south node new moon solar eclipse is really asking you, what are areas in which you've merged with other people and those relationships and connections have put you in a place where you've been taken advantage of? So if it's financial, is it a partnership in some way where you're getting finance for a project, or you're getting your spouse's income? Maybe your spouse is being controlling with the money, and that, or being financially abusive. I think that's the term. Or are there taboo activities that you are doing because you just want someone to still like you? You're sacrificing your physical body or doing things that are not necessarily upright in an attempt to maintain relationship with someone. Those types of behaviors would need to be released during this time and might be highlighted in this period, during this period of time. Some of the pain that would be associated, and that's kind of keeping you from moving forward and kind of stepping into your own authenticity and showing up for yourself, would be associated to some of your needs for social, financial stability. It can be the pain of being you in terms of, am I good enough? Self-worth, self-esteem. Maybe you have serious self-esteem issues to where on a deep psychological level, you don't think that you deserve more than what you're getting. It could also mean that there could potentially just be a worry and a fear that you can't provide for yourself. You can't attain the material resources that you feel like you deserve and need. And that's something that you would have to work on and heal on and meditate on. But I think the eclipses will highlight and give you opportunities to be able to work on that. But that's a huge, thing that's kind of blocking you from that. Another area is, communities, right? Maybe social groups of people who are kind of supporting bad behavior and possibly supporting some things that are no longer serving you, but they're part of your community. So you're like, okay, well, we're all doing this together. So it's kind of hard for me to strike it out on my own, or to think I can do anything by myself, or to think I can financially support myself, or successfully finance this project that I'm doing. So that's something to consider. Pisces in general, I always kind of, I'm not concerned, but I always do want to highlight that, Pisces is a water sign and it's boundaryless, it's a sign that's associated with no boundaries. And Saturn has just hit it's 0 degrees at this time. So there is a little bit of this ask of putting up boundaries, right? And learning to not just be, water all the time, but really finding ways that you have relationships that are not supporting your greater and highest good. And so I think not only do you have not only do you have Venus in Virgo, which is a very practical and pragmatic sign, and will allow you to really ascertain who's here for me, who's really here for me in my relationships, how can they show up, and also, what is the right relationship for me, what is the right partnership for me. And you're going to be thinking about that, and you're going to have a really nice way of approaching it that's really balanced and fair and diplomatic. And Saturn's going to allow you to also have and firm up the boundaries around those types of relationships. So I think you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. So I'll see you at the next eclipse. Bye.